All right, in the absence of my gavel, I'll use my knuckles over here. We're gonna call today's PRT Commission meeting to order, noon, today, February 20th, 2025. We've got some new members, that were appointed on our PRT Commission. One of them couldn't be here today. She had an obligation, already when she was appointed. But I'd like for each of the commission members to take just a moment to introduce themselves. And you can do what you want, just really name and maybe your interest for PRT. I'm gonna start down there since you're a veteran, Kevin, and let you come this way.
Okay. My name's Kevin Cope. We own Cope and Company Real Estate, and we do lodging and vacation rentals. It's kind of what we bring to the commission.
My name is Alex Butterbaugh. I own Kiwi Brewing Company in downtown Seneca.
My name's Riley Johnson. I am the events coordinator for the city of Seneca.
Noel Baker, semi-retired from construction and real estate.
Tony Adams, I'm the old retired part of the group, I guess.
Well, I hope the R word's not too far down my stretch. We'll see. So we are in a new year, and next week, when everybody's here, we will elect officers. Unless you want to do it today, I recommend that we wait till next week when they're all here. If that's the case, I'm happy to run today's meeting. Is everybody okay with that?
Absolutely.
So we'll start the meeting. You should have in front of you the minutes from the last meeting. You were also emailed those minutes, and if you have any questions, certainly we will answer those. If not, when you're ready, we'll take a motion and a second to approve those.
Yeah, I can make a motion that we accept the minutes as presented.
Second.
Motion by Alex, second by Riley. Any other discussion?
Since we weren't on commission,
You are welcome
we don't
to,
need to
you're
vote.
welcome to abstain if you like. So all approve? And abstain, that's three. All right, next item is our treasurer's report. You have a written treasurer's report in front of you. We have two types of accommodations tax that the PRT Commission works through, and I'll take just a few minutes since we do have some new members to talk through them. We have a local day tax and a state day tax. And I'll use it from the business side. When a business rents a room out, whether it's a hotel, a camper, campground, a cabin, a lodge, short-term rental, they pay a 5% state accommodations tax. 2% of that goes to the state of South Carolina, to the Department of Revenue. And we get that back quarterly from the state. And 3% of that comes directly to Oconee County as part of our local accommodations tax ordinance. All that money is combined, it's kept in those two pots, and then we use the state statute in place on how we expend that money. One of the programs that we have that's very successful is our grant program, which is what we're reviewing today. We have 13 grants, and we'll go through all of those here shortly and review each of those applications. But in front of you, you can see the balance as of this past week. In our local levy tax balance, you can see the encumbrances on the treasurer's report to show what has been approved but still not actually paid out. And then you can see the total balance that matches what I have on your screen there at the bottom of that treasurer's report. And then on the bottom of your treasurer's report is the state aid tax money. We utilize the state aid tax money in-house primarily to operate our Visit Oconee and our marketing side. By state statute, that's one of the things that you're required to do with that money. And then we also utilize it for projects. And so you can see on the state side, if y'all remember the ones who were on the commission at the last meeting, you approved up to $200,000 to go towards those dock projects that we had. Well, that has been run through county council, it's approved, and now that PO has been issued, and those docks are in progress. So that's encumbered, but it hadn't been paid yet, so that's why it's showing the way it is. There's actually only $259,967 in the state side. Any questions on how that local aid tax or that state aid tax treasurer's report is laid out. All right, hearing none, I will move on. If you do have questions, by all means, make a note, and I'm happy to help. All right, so today we have 13 total grant applications. We have a total of $93,044 in total requests. I have reviewed all of them. My responsibility in reviewing these grants is to make sure what I present to you is eligible, and whatever you make recommendations on has been vetted to make sure it's spent according to our statute and our ordinance. There was just a few dollars that did not qualify based on the tourism impact of a few of our applications. So there's $91,749 in eligible requests today. And I am recommending that you can recommend up to $70,000 this cycle. That's again the highest number we've done. Mandy did some work this week and went back to 2010 to our ATAX program. And since 2010, the PRT Commission has recommended $1.8 million to our grant applicants to utilize for these programs. That is a tremendous amount of money, and it is a huge help, I know, to the folks that ask for the money and turn around and provide those services to our citizens and our visitors. So I just wanted to, that's a big number, and I thought it was worth mentioning today of how much we give out. Last year, we did $130,000. We did 60 in one round and 70 in the other. As long as we stay on this route, we'll probably do 70,000 both rounds this cycle for 140, and that'll be the highest we've done. And as our ATAX continues to grow, we look at that every cycle and determine kind of what we can give out and what we need to keep back. Somebody was asking me before, I try to keep a year's worth in there just in case something happens or something doesn't come through like we expect. I try to keep a year in reserve, so just, being smart with what's there so that if something does happen, we've got money to move through our system, because about $1 million comes in through this program. We give out roughly 130 here, and then we've got about 650 to 700 that also helps offset the general fund of things that the state allows us to do. And we pay for a number of our employees, a number of our maintenance for our staff, our parks. We keep a number of historic sites open with docents, and I provided you with that budget as well so you can see it in preparation for our May meeting. So back to our grants, $70,000. Today, we're simply reviewing the grants. I will go through and I have a slide for each one of them. I'll tell you what they're eligible for, what they're asking for. If there's a question and the applicant is in the audience, then we will let them come up and answer the question. If they're not here, I'll answer best I can, and if I don't have the answer, I'll get it to you by email before next Thursday when you make your recommendations. Any questions before we get started? All right, so these are in alphabetical order, and that's how we do every meeting. I always tell, Mr. Baker, I met with you, I always tell them, when you make your recommendations next week, you make your recommendations all the way to the end, even if it's more than 70,000, and then we can go back and, I don't want the people at the end of the alphabet to not get the same consideration as the beginning. But I have to say that every time, it makes me feel better. So we'll start with City of Seneca. This is an advertising grant for Independence Day Celebration 2025. I've got on here a breakdown of their attendance last year. You'll see the tourism impact on each of these slides. If they did not provide me with data to give me a tourism impact percentage, then it's 30%. And that is a historic number that we've used in the past that is pretty consistent across all of our platforms and applicants. You'll occasionally see somebody get up around 50 or 60. You'll occasionally see somebody down in the 10, 15 range. But if we don't know, we use 30 until we find out. Or 30, as the baseline. So the total budget for the Independence Day celebration is $82,851. You can see there the total amount eligible. They are asking for $9,600. That is all radio and TV advertising, that was in the grant that you guys all saw. Any questions on that particular grant? And I'll also provide on each slide what they have received the previous 2 years, which is 4 grant cycles, just to kind of give you an idea. All right, no questions? The next one is Discover Upcountry, South Carolina. Mr. Tim Todd is here. Discover Upcountry is a marketing partner of ours. They work to bring marketing awareness to the 6 counties of the upstate: Anderson, Oconee, Pickens, Greenville, Spartanburg, and Cherokee. They are allotted some ATAX money through the state, and then they also come to each county and do partnerships with each county. A lot of our ads are done in partner with Mr. Todd, and you can see the layout of the advertising campaigns that they utilize in their promotions for those 6 northwestern counties. You can see their total marketing budget, and they are eligible for the entire $15,000 that they're asking for. And you can see what we've been able to provide through our grant program over the last 2 years. Any questions for Discover Upcountry? I do okay?
You got all counties, that's the first time you've done that. So, I'm impressed.
All right, the next one is Eagles Nest Arts Center. Anybody here from Eagles Nest? No? Eagles Nest is requesting $8,670. If you're not familiar, Eagles Nest is in the old Salem High School, Tomasi Salem School, and they have a performing arts center there. This is a request to advertise for their 10 upcoming shows, and in their grant, they had a breakdown of all those shows and where each money for each show was going. Radio, social media, print, across the upstate, western North Carolina, and northeast Georgia. And they also had a few dollars in there for some office upgrades and electrical upgrades at their venue, which are also acceptable. Total project budget for their year is $37,500. Again, you see the 30% tourism impact, making them eligible for at least $11,250. So they are eligible for the entire $8,670 that they are asking for. Any questions for Eagles Nest Arts Center? Okay. Lake and Mountain Quilters Guild, anyone here from?
Cindy.
No? Okay.
I'm sorry.
They're from Quilter.
Thank you.
This is the Quilters Guild, which is a quilt show held each year. This year is June 27th and 28th at Seneca Middle School. They're requesting $1,550 to help promote that in the tri-state area and directly in the niche Carolina Arts magazine, as well as a billboard. So their total show budget for the year is $19,718. Again, not to exceed that 30% number, they are eligible for the $1,550 they are asking for. Any questions about the Lake Mountain Quilters Guild?
I would just like to have a little more in depth of what they do. What they
The
are.
show?
Yeah, the show.
It highlights local quilters and regional quilters. So they'll have all their quilts set up, they'll have their different designs and the ways they quilt, and it's if I was a quilter, I'd probably
You
have
could
a little
probably
more
give me.
detail for it. My grandmother was a quilter, and before she passed away, I know she made all of our grandchildren a quilt, and so it's a prized possession. But anyway, they get together and celebrate that art of making those quilts, and it's a full day of 2 days of that at the middle school. Any other questions?
And do they have a lot of tourism that comes in because of that? Do they have a lot of people from out of
Let me look
town?
at that total, their attendance from last year. They didn't have it last year because they were coming off of COVID, so this is their first year back.
Gotcha.
Before COVID, they were averaging around 400 to 500 people that came through the show.
I'm not anti-quit, I love quits. I just had some questions, wanted to
No,
understand.
no, absolutely. And if you need more, let me know and I'll try to get some more.
Thank you.
All right, next one is Oconee Military Museum, right here in Walhalla. This is a request specifically for a year's worth of advertising in the South Carolina Living Magazine, which is a co-op magazine that goes out, to bring awareness to their museum. They have a total budget for the year of $20,000. You can see their tourism impact is 42%. You say, well, why is that different? Well, they provided data to me, showed that the people that signed into their museum, 42% of them are tourists. And so that's how we utilize that number. So they are eligible for up to $8,400 a year in ATAX money, so they're eligible for the entire $2,030 for today. Any questions about the request for Oconee Military Museum? Okay. Next one is the 64th South Carolina Apple Festival. This is to advertise print, radio, and TV for the Apple Festival. I'm sure you've all had a chance to go to that through the years. It's been an ABA Top 100 event multiple years in a row. Averages about 15,000 attendees over a couple of days. Their tourism impact by their application is about 20%, so that's the number that I use for this. You can see their total budget for the Apple Festival and what they're eligible for, $6,454. So they are eligible for the whole $5,000 that they are asking for. Any questions on the Apple Festival application? Okay. Next one is Bigfoot Festival. This is also in Westminster. This is $5,000 for print, billboard, and digital advertising. You can see their estimated attendance in 2024. Their estimated impact from their application was 60%. Total budget of $33,000, so you can see what they're eligible for, making them eligible for the entire $5,000 that they're requesting from us to assist in pulling off the Bigfoot Festival. I think this is, one of memory, third or fourth year?
Well, 1 year got canceled,
Canceled
so I
for
think it's the
pandemic.
third.
Bigfoot Craze comes to Westminster. Any questions on the Bigfoot Festival application? Okay. The next one is the Farm Center for facility improvements. This is a $10,000 request for some security gates, arena lights around the arena, and to help it finish the recently built exhibit hall. Their total project budget for the year is $42,902 for these items. Their estimated impact through their data is 40%, so they are eligible for the entire $10,000 that they are requesting to assist us with. Any questions about the Farm Center application? Okay. Next one is the Foothills Farmstead. This is a request for assistance with the septic for a public restroom. They have already got the public restroom. It was a partnership with a group that was in their application that came and built the public restroom. This is for the septic for that restroom. So $3,500 request. You can see the total project budget. Again, without having data, 30% was utilized, so they're actually eligible for $3,270 of the $3,500 they asked for. Any questions about the Farmstead budget? I will bring up at the last meeting, if you remember, we combined some dollars on a couple of old grants for the Farmstead and allowed them to do electrical and, oh, mine's going blank. Was it the roof? I don't remember.
It was just
Anyway,
the electricity.
The
It was the grist mill that they transferred.
the transfer over to the house. The vote by the commission was to allow them to move that money over to complete that request in hopes that both of them would be done by today. Well, they have got one of those two projects done and the final report turned in. The other one is still in progress. So because you worded that the way you did last time, I wanted to make sure, just bring that up. They are actively working on it. They're not able to quite get the second one done yet, but they are working on it. And then this will be an additional, grant, so they'll have two open now, versus just having the one, which is not uncommon. Just, again, wanted to bring that up because of how the commission voted on that last time. Any questions on that request? They do a really good job at the farmstead.
Says ATAX fund in previous 2 years, 0.
So
You were saying they have some outside.
the two grants were older than 2 years. That's the reason the commission had to make their vote last time, because by state law, you're supposed to spend it within 2 years, and the pandemic put them behind, and they had to send me a letter to include in their grant file to ask for an extension.
Good answer.
And so the commission granted them an extension. Good question. Okay. Next one is the Upstate Heritage Quilt Trail, which I do believe we have representation here. This is a request for $775. If you are familiar, I'm afraid to throw out a number. What number are we on now?
306.
306. That's just in Oconee.
Oh, no.
That's all over.
That's 3 counties.
3 counties. So over 300 quilts. And I can remember sitting down with Ms. Fowle years ago saying we wanted to start a quilt trail. Well, I didn't know what that meant. But we've been a big partner of theirs through the years, and they do tremendous work. We have several of them in our county parks, as well as on some county buildings. But this is a request to help with website, printed materials, social media, and they do interpretive signs beside each quilt to tell you about it. You know, who the quilter is, what it means, and kind of the relevance of it. So you can see their total annual budget, what they're eligible for, and they are eligible for the entire $775 of this request.
That one of theirs back there.
That is one of theirs back there. Yep. The back of the room.
And Phil, just to be clear, this has nothing to do with the Quilters Guild, right? This two separate
Two separate things.
things, yeah, okay.
I'm sure there's some people that do both, but it's
Oh, there
two
are.
separate
Lots.
organizations. Yeah.
We have lots of quilters that paint with us, but we paint them. We
Yeah,
don't-
they paint them, the Quilters Guild sews them.
Gotcha.
And in order to be painted, it has to be a sewn quilt.
Yeah, there's never a day goes by I don't learn something. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Next is Walhalla Performing Arts Center. Mark is here in the back in case there's any questions. This is a request for $12,000 for 2025 advertising, over 100 shows at the Performing Arts Center. If you haven't been to the venue, I encourage you to go. It's top-notch, first class. Total advertising budget, I didn't put in here, I normally do, how many people came through last year, Mark, you know off the top of your head? I think it's in
Probably
your
about
application.
40,000 people, and we do a lot of nonprofit events, city events, county events, library, YMCA, that's not included.
Yeah, it's not even a part of this request, this is just for the shows themselves. So they are eligible, for all 12,000 they're asking for, you can see what we've been able to provide. And one thing that always sticks out to me about Performing Arts Center is over 50% of all their ticket sales come from outside of Oconee County. That's a big impact, locally for us. Any questions for Performing Arts Center? Okay, and see, got 2 left. Westminster Music Center, I know we have representation from Westminster Music Center here. This is a request for $10,000 for the 4-concert series Music on Main 2025. Per their grant, estimated 1,500 attendees for those concert series. Their total annual budget is $24,300. They are showing a tourism impact of 40% for their grant, making them eligible for 40% of their total budget for the year, so $9,720 of the $10,000 they're asking for. Any specific questions for Westminster Music Center, Music on Main?
I got one. When are these held?
Usually, it's 2 in the spring, 2 in the fall. This year, we're gonna try 1 in the spring and 1 in the fall. So it's in the April, May timeframe, and then September, October timeframe.
Okay.
Any other questions?
So just to understand, there's 2 concerts this year versus the 4?
We are, we've lost some, we rely on grants and sponsorships, and we've lost, City of Westminster stopped giving grants up. So that's kind of a big chunk of money, and we're, struggling trying to come up with money for putting on these shows.
Understood.
Is this in addition to the music on Main?
This is the music on
This
Main.
is the music on Main.
Okay.
They used to have
You
them,
say it's 4 concerts?
Right.
I was thinking there was more.
We, in the past, we've been a nonprofit for 10 years. In the past, we had a building in downtown Westminster, so we would do more like 1 or 2 shows a month. The building, we had problems with the building and then COVID, so we're out of that building. We have another building we're working on. So we're not doing any pay per events. This is all free street events that we're holding right now.
Do you still have the city's support to do these even without their funding?
The city still partners with us on the stage and closing off the street and all of that. They're just not providing any grant funding.
Any other questions for Music on Main? And I'm sorry, that says 2023. Fat finger problem, should be 2025. Okay. Last but certainly not least, Wild Hearts Equine Therapeutics Center. We do have representation here from there. They are requesting $9,919 to finish the construction project, as well as enrich the space and some interstate advertising. They've been approved for some of the interstate advertising opportunities. You can see their total project budget, $24,037, and their data collected of 38% tourism impact. So they're eligible for $9,134 of the request. If you have not been to Wild Hearts, then I encourage you to go by and check it out and look at what they're doing out there.
Can you give us an in-depth of more?
I won't, but I'll let you.
That'd be great.
Would y'all be willing to give them a 5-minute?
Sure.
Please, I'm completely unfamiliar.
Would you come
so
up to the podium and do that?
I'd like to know what, yeah, I would like to
Please.
know what you do.
We have some new members, so I thought this might happen today.
Okay, awesome. I'll try to be a little taller than the podium. So Wild Hearts Equine Therapy Center, we are actually in our 10th year, and we're doing a big celebration in May at Kiwi-Key. If anybody needs a place to go celebrate and have some fun, it's a great fundraiser, May 2nd. What we do is we assist people with physical, intellectual, or emotional difficulties. And we do that through the partnerships that we have with our horses. For those of you who may not have been around horses, or even those of you who have been around horses, there's something about a horse that's good for the inside of the man. And somebody famous said that, and I can never come up with their name. So what is that? What is it that helps horses help people? There's a whole bunch of science behind it, and I'm not going to go into the detail of the science, except to say that they help us lower our heart rates, they help us lower blood pressure. Being in their presence also is proven to increase our serotonin and dopamine, so our neurotransmitters, our feel-good hormones. So when we work with people who are struggling in any of those ways, it's just about impossible not to feel better after being with a horse for 45 minutes to an hour. That's kind of on an emotional level. We also help people with physical challenges. So maybe building core strength and balance. And if you've been to Wild Hearts, you've seen our Century Trail where people may reach over and do things. We have lock boards so we can work on fine motor skills, stroke victims, people with Alzheimer's. Anybody and anyone who needs our help, we will help. Victims of abuse, domestic situations. We've had people involved in shootings that come to us to just help move past the trauma. If you've lived life at all, you've probably had a traumatic experience of some kind. And so being in the presence of a horse will actually help us on a physiological level that you can't really see, and it's really hard to describe. I would love to invite you all out to feel that for yourselves, if we can ever get you guys all together. So we're in our 10th year. We only charge $40 per session. It costs us a little over $105 to provide any one session. So right off the bat, even people who pay $40 are subsidized at $65 per session. And then we have people who are part of our scholarship program, which is funded by grants and donations. That scholarship program helps people who can't pay anything. It's just a tank of gas these days, $40. But there's a lot of people in our county who cannot afford that. And so that's why we have our scholarship program. So we're 48 horses on 32 acres in track systems, so they're all metabolically balanced and our pastures have good health. And we've been at it almost 10 years. Any specific questions? Now that I've,
I'm sorry, you still have the short-term rentals on site?
yes, we do.
Where's your
2 short-term
facility
rentals on
located?
site. I'm sorry?
You said 32 acres, where is it located?
If you take 59 down to 24 and hang a left toward Townville, you'll see our covered arena on the left-hand side. You have to go into the Conross Point subdivision in order to get to us. We were actually gonna have an entrance on Highway 24, and it was gonna be too much work with the state. They wanted to clear trees and change the road. And when we were down there mapping out where we wanted it, we realized, man, traffic is really heavy. I'm not sure we want an entrance right on the highway.
Do you have a sign there?
We don't. We'd love to put some tourism signs up.
There's a pond right next to it there.
What's that?
There's a pond right next to it.
There is a pond right next to it. We actually own a third of that pond.
That's your 32 acres?
Yeah. Well, that pond, we own a third of that pond.
Okay. Okay.
The 2 other neighbors, everybody owns a third.
Which end or the middle?
Our building is actually due west. Here's the pond, and then here's the Bolts, or the Brysons. They live in the house next to the arena. And then our arena is just west of their house.
Oh, do you have a facility in Crossroads itself, there where 59 and
No,
24?
no, we don't have a facility there. Everything we have sits right there in the Conross Point subdivision.
They had some kind of a fair there or something last year, probably another organization.
Might have been somebody else. Yeah.
So how many people do you have a year participating?
So that's a really great question. We have all kinds of different things that people participate in. So we've got upwards of 100 individual weekly clients that come for their 45 to 50-minute equine therapy session. And those are just individuals. And then we have school groups from West Oak Middle, Hamilton Career Center, and Ravenel Elementary. We've also started getting inquiries from schools in Pickens and Anderson counties. We've actually had some, Voc Rehab has come from Anderson County. And now we've got an Easley school that's looking at coming to us with their, it's special needs closed classrooms that come to us. And sadly, a lot of people don't realize that what we see as poor behavior is really just information. It's information about what that kid is going through. And so rather than judging that and suspending or expelling or whatever the case may be, when they come to us, we help them passively learn how to self-regulate. And when people can learn how to self-regulate, especially kiddos, then we can move out of our brainstem and into our midbrain, where we can learn to trust and build relationships. Once we get through our midbrain, we can get to our frontal lobe, our neocortex, where we can learn. And that's why students do so much better in classrooms once they've been spending some time with us, because now they're self-regulated, and they're in the part of their brain where they can actually learn. If that makes sense.
Makes great sense. I'm a ball coach, so I get it.
Okay.
I'm with you. Yes.
All right.
I'm seeing what you're saying.
Cool.
I really like the answers.
So that's just our client base. When we bring people in for tourism, it's because we have educational events in our education center, and sometimes we have fundraising events. So we've got 5 planned for this year alone, and probably 5 or more for next year as well. And those are horsemanship clinics that bring people from all over the state and all over the country. We typically have people from California, Colorado, Texas, Illinois, Virginia, all of South Carolina, North Carolina. Some people come up from Florida, Georgia, So there's a lot of different people in the horse world that come to deepen their horsemanship with their horse. And they do that with the instructors that we bring in from other places. We also have learning education, learning opportunities for how to work with horses in terms of helping them feel better. One of the things that we do is we see our horses as our partners. They're not like a hammer or a tool that we take out of a shed and put away. They're a sentient being. And so our horses get massages. And they get other kinds of body work. And a lot of people would like to understand how they can do that for their own horse. So we have 2 educational events this year. One is the Masterson Method and the other is Cranial Sacral, where we will have instructors come in from out of state, and then they actually will draw other people, because they'll be advertising it as well. And normally when we have educational events like that, we've got people coming in from, most people are coming in from out of state. The instructors are coming from either North Carolina or the state of Ohio. Some of our instructors come from Texas, Colorado, and California. And their tribe, if you will, tends to follow them.
So they'd be staying multiple nights or days here?
Yes, yes, and we actually keep a log of who is here from where they eat, where they shop, and where they lodge. And that gives us an estimate of our impact on the local tourism and the local economy. All of those logs should be, they're probably pretty tough to decipher because they're all handwritten, people just sign in, but we submit all those logs with our grant requests as well.
That's how I come up with the 38% on the screen.
Do you take apprentices?
What's that?
Do you do apprenticeships?
For?
Well, I have a 12-year-old that loves horses. Her dad's never let her ride one, but, and, now, I love horses, and we've had horses, and that's where that came from. Her older siblings had horses, we don't.
Yeah.
So, but I do have a ball team that I do love to do service projects with.
That would be awesome. We do take apprentices. 12 years old is a bit young for our insurance company to feel comfortable with.
Sure.
If there's someone that comes in under the age of 16, they have to have a parent with them during the whole time that they're there. If your ball team wants to come in, we've had Boy Scouts of America come, we've had real estate companies that have an in-service day. A lot of local businesses like to have their in-service day at the farm. They're outside, they're in the sunshine. Most of what we have our in-service people do is 2 things. Either scoop some poop for us, because we got plenty of that, or stain fences. We got a lot of fences that need staining. So,
Well, I'd love to do it.
yeah, they get black.
They don't know it yet, but they,
They gotta wear clothes they don't care about and shoes that they don't care about, because the stain is black.
thank you for all the information. Thank you very much.
Any other questions?
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Alex, I was just on the phone with on the email last night with Allison on some shelter stuff.
All right, so that is the 13 grants. You have in your packet this sheet that you will bring back next week with your, kind of your personal thoughts on what the grant needs to look like to equal up to not exceed $70,000. Just for information, each of these grants that come in, we have a file folder on. And Mandy is the holder of the grant files. But she has all the information in terms of when the grant was turned in. She keeps up with the interim reports and the final reports. So if you give money out to one of these grants, they get a check once county council approves it. And every 180 days per the application, they send us an interim report, let us know what's going on with that grant. And then when they're done, they send us the final report. And once Mandy is satisfied that they have spent the money like you asked them to, or like you recommended for them to, then she has everything in the file and closes the file out, and we keep it in case we're ever audited. So just for the new ones, that's kind of how each grant is kept in the file sheet, and we can go back
10 years.
at least 10 years. I've got some older ones before she started, so, but that, just for information, that's kind of how we keep those on file. So next week, we will quickly go through this same set of slides, and then I will turn the meeting over to you as the commission to start talking through what you think each grant, you recommend for, and y'all can go back and forth until we get to that magic number not to exceed 70,000. And then when there's a consensus, we'll go down and do a vote on each one of those. And then that recommendation will go to the March 18th county council meeting for them to, ask questions or put a stamp on your recommendation.
Now, question, Bill.
Yes, sir.
Is there any kind of a cap on the percent of ATAX funds you can use for advertising? A lot of advertising on this.
No, in fact, the state highlights and wants you to spend most of it on advertising. Because the money, the revenue is from tourists who stay in our town. And they want you to flip that money around and advertise for people to keep coming back. There are, if you look on the application itself, there's 5 categories that you can ask for money. Advertising, festivals and events, maintenance of your venue, those are all laid out in terms of what you can ask for. The majority of what we see is advertising. Yeah. There is no cap.
For some reason, I was thinking that was a set percentage recommended.
Alex, what question?
Could you go back 2 slides to the Westminster Music Convent? Sorry, that was just the only one I didn't write down previous numbers for. Thank you.
I have one also. Give me just 1 second. I'm sorry, guys.
Look, can you just email that to us, what we gave last year? Is there any easy way to do that? It will speed it up for next, for each one of these 13. What we allowed for the request from last year?
I can email you
All of it
last year's
written down.
approval. Is that what you're asking?
Do what now?
I think that's what he's asking, yeah, the
Okay.
approvals for
So-
last.
Yeah,
You want this sheet that was filled out last year?
yes.
Okay, I can email y'all that.
That will help us have some numbers before we come in here.
Okay.
That's how I
And,
always
you know,
try.
Yeah.
my 2 cents for what it's worth is when you get down to those final grants and you've got maybe a few more grants and you don't have enough money, is that's when you really start looking at what is the impact of that application, and try to put that money to the best impact of where it's gonna flip around and be a benefit to the industry, to the tourism industry.
That's what, I've always tried to do it based on how many people attend and how many events they do and all that kind of stuff is where I put my weight.
Any other questions on the grant process? Yes, sir.
This may not be an appropriate question, but when I think about ATAX, I always lump hospitality tax in with it.
2 separate things.
Well, they don't coordinate, at all.
Oconee County does not have a hospitality tax.
The towns do.
The towns do.
Okay, I got it.
Oconee County does
That's
not
what-
have an
okay,
H tax.
okay. But the towns have it.
Each of the towns have a hospitality tax, but we as a county do not.
That's cool. I remember that now.
Any other questions on the grants? All right. I only have one item from BRT this time. And, each year, this will be our 4th year helping the disc golf community. There are 5 disc golf tournaments between now and June that, I've got here on the screen. I do ask them to share the number of players that come in, and the economic impact of each of those events. And typically, I like to sponsor those at the $1,000 level. That just helps them pull that event off and reach out and bring those disc golfers in from all over the southeast to participate in these events. This $5,000 investment, again, turns around to about a little over $40,000 in a return, back in these 5 events. So this is the only request I have today, is to utilize $5,000 from our local tax for us to sponsor these 5 events, between now and June. You got 1 at Walhalla, 3 at Seneca, and then 1, the biggest, Oconee National is a new venue that has 3 courses that, it's a private area, but it's public whenever they do the tournaments.
You're suggesting 1,000 for each?
Yeah, total of $5,000, for between now and June, and I'll do $1,000 sponsorship on each one of those.
How many of those you had so far?
there's about 10 a year that we,
Yes,
yep.
doctor.
Mhm.
Participation good in that?
Well, you can see anywhere from 90 to 180 players, and they're usually here the day before at least.
A lot of them come out of the county.
We have a large influx of disc golf courses here, not only in Oconee, but you have the one at Central, that hosts the Pro Tour as well. And so, we partner with them a good bit, as well. And the organizer that does these 5 also does the Central Tournament, so he has a big pool. This request, when we do the action items, they're a request for us to consider at this meeting. So if there's any questions, if not, any thoughts on a potential motion for this to happen?
I'll make a motion that we approve the $5,000 for the sponsorships.
Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion?
What did we do last year?
5. You know, there's 10 tournaments a year. Typically, I come to you twice a year for 5,000 each, and I do about $1,000 a tournament, and it helps them. And again, we put about 10 grand into it. The first 5,000 is in my ATAX budget that you'll see in May, and then I make sure they have a full 10 before I come back to you and ask for the second 5, and he gives me the second schedule for the spring of the year prior to this meeting every year, and I come back and try to get the other 5. So I want to make sure we have a full 10 before I allot 10 to it. Any other discussion on that motion and second? Being none, all in favor? Those 5-0, thank you very much. I'll close today out. I also included in your packet it's on the end, it's a 4-page, it's my annual report to the administrator. This is just FYI for you as a commission member, to see my report, to the administrator and the county council. So you can kind of really see all the things that we are involved in as an agency, here in the county. I've got 2 things that I'll highlight today. We currently have 19 capital projects, in this budget year that are either ongoing or completed. And I've got those on the screen as well as in your packet. These are things that, the Parks, Recreation, and Tourism Capital Fund that County Council put in place, as well as the accommodations tax helps pay for, as we move through the year. And the things that come out of ATAX, again, are not part of the general fund. Those are things that we help in terms of accommodations tax. This year, a large majority of this is ATAX. The big thing that we're gonna do out of the PRT capital money, I'm gonna show you in just a minute, is the expansion of the courts at South Cove. But a lot of this is local ATAX money and just a little bit of the capital money. I'll also show you, and this is hard to read, I just did it because there's so many of them. This is our program schedule for the year. We have roughly 140 to 150 programs in our parks every year. We typically will allow up to 20 to 25 people, depending on the setting and who's doing it and what equipment's needed. And most of them sell out real quickly. All that's done through social media, sign-ups, and then the fishing tournaments are also included here, but that takes a lot of time to just wanted you to see the activity that happens in our county park system and the capital projects that we're currently working on. The big one that is coming to county council soon is our South Cove tennis and pickleball expansion. County council has, to this point, approved for we had to take the overhead power lines and turn them underground. We did that back in the fall, and they're working on that now. And then the council approved the engineering, I think back in November. We're in final design review. I expect this to go out to bid within the next 30 days. And once it goes out to bid and that comes back, it'll be out on the market for 30 days. Once it comes back, it'll go to county council with a funding package with it, with a request to make this expansion. Just for those that are new, Both of the parking lots are new at South Cove. The large one that you see will double as both the courts as well as summer overflow for the lake. So we can utilize, we didn't do any curbing in the middle of that parking lot so that we can do boats and trailers in there as well. So make sure that we could do, we could have overflow for either tournaments and or just our daily summer use for that. And then you can see kind of on the pickleball courts, the two on the left are a little lighter shade. That's the expansion part. The rest of that is the existing court that we're just gonna resurface, restripe, and then they're adding about 30 feet of asphalt on the left-hand side there, and then the tennis courts are new. Pickleball is growing faster than anybody can keep up with across the country, and so we are attempting to go from 8 courts to 12, and that will help us maintain our service demand to the public. We fill up on typical about 3 times a day. 3 different times a day, the courts are full. And they do a good job of coordinating with each group, trying to say, hey, we're gonna play from 9 to 12, we're gonna play from noon to 4, and we're gonna play from, 6 to 9 or whatever. And it's something that's ongoing. You saw probably this past week, Seneca's doing some stuff indoors to help.
Tuesday and Thursday.
Tuesdays and Thursdays, and the city of Clemson is building 8 courts at Nettles Park that's in construction now. So all that's gonna help the demand in the region, help us kind of help with that. But no action item for you. This is just, again, to see what we got going on. Here's our upcoming events between now and May. A lot of fishing tournaments. Staff today is at the Clemson PRT Career Fair, showing off, trying to recruit our next interns. We get a lot of our employees through our intern program that come out of Clemson. That has been very successful for us. Sometimes we're not able to keep them long. They're really good, and they can't climb the ladder fast enough, and they find another ladder to go climb. But we get a lot of our folks through Clemson PRTM. As you can see, we got a busy fishing tournament schedule between now and May. Any questions on anything you've seen today? I threw a lot at you there at the end. If not, next meeting is next Thursday at noon here. I will email you last year's sheet. If you'll come prepared, we'll do a quick run through those slides and then turn it over to y'all to make your recommendations. And we'll go from there. Any final questions for me? All right, we will elect officers next week and make rent recommendations. With that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
And any other opposition or discussion? If not, all in favor?